Hey everyone. So in this exercise, we are going to learn how to use some advanced message box options. And we've been using message box quite a bit through the semester. For example, I could go in here and just create kind of a dummy button down here. And I could type message box hello world and go back to Excel and click on that button, and I get this little window that says hello world. And by default, MessageBox has one button, and it just displays a message. But and that's the way we've primarily been using it thus far in our exercises and videos we've done to this point. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to use MessageBox with both an OK and a cancel button, and then how to determine which button is selected and then change your behavior or what happens based on which button is selected. You know, typically cancel means make the window go away and do nothing, and OK means OK, I want to do something. And so let me delete that button there. And so the use case we have here is it's an exercise that is described in this chapter of the Excel VBA primer called Writing Custom Subs. And the idea here is there's a pair of subs. One formats a table and one populates that table that's just been formatted. This is the kind of table we're looking at here. And this is then split into two separate subs, and you can pass it. We change it so you can pass a range into the sub as an argument, and then up here we're calling the two subs three times, each of which with a different range of cells, and then it builds the tables here. And then there's also a sub that deletes the tables. So let me jump back here. So let's just show it in action first. So these this button here executes this sub that calls these other two custom subs three times with this range as an argument, and so it builds the table in three different places. And then there's a delete tables sub. Let me get rid of this one down here. That just wipes out the area where you built the tables. So this button right here just wipes that out. So generate tables, delete tables. And so that's kind of what we're starting from. But the idea that we want to pursue here is sometimes when you're writing Visual Basic code in Excel, your code might do something that causes a permanent change to your spreadsheet. So, for example, when I delete these tables, that I can't undo that. There's, you know, if you go to the here where it has the undo button, they're blank. You can't run Visual Basic code in reverse. So anytime you run some VB code in whatever circumstance, it wipes out your ability to undo anything. So in other words, you got to be sure when you click on this button, you got to be sure that you really want to delete that part of the table. And so in cases like that, it's quite helpful to pop up a window that says, are you sure you want to, you know, this can't be undone. Are you sure you want to do A, B, or C? And then give the user two buttons. If the OK button, that means yes, I'm sure, and you go ahead and do it. And if you click the cancel button, it means no, I didn't mean to click that button. Don't do it. And so we can do that with the message box. And so what we're going to do is go into the Developer tab and enter Design Mode. And we're going to click on the Delete Tables button. And so now, instead of just always calling this line of code that wipes out everything in that region, we're going to prompt the user using MessageBox. So first of all, we are going to declare a variable called result, and we're going to declare that as a variant. And then the way you do this is, instead of calling MsgBox as a sub, now typically to call MsgBox we just say MsgBox and then, you know, space and start typing the arguments. But that you only should do that if you're just going to use a MsgBox with like an OK button only. If you want to pop it up with multiple buttons and then determine which button is selected, you need to call MsgBox as a function. So MsgBox is one of those weird things. You can either call it as a sub or a function. And we're going to call it as a function. And we're going to say result equals MsgBox, open paren. Now when you call it as a function, you have to put the arguments in parentheses, because that's how functions work. And a function returns something. So we're going to store the result or the return value from this function call to MsgBox in this variable called result. And so the prompt is going to say this cannot be undone, continue. Okay, and then we're going to say VB critical, because this will put up a little warning symbol on there, and it'll also put a warning beep. And then we're going to, I can't remember if we discussed this before in earlier videos, but this particular argument, the second argument, is called an enumerated type, and you basically have to pick something from this list, and these are Visual Basic constants. There's actually numbers associated with these, or codes, but you don't want to have to remember codes, so you have these constants where you just you select the correct constant you want. And some of these constants can be combined using the plus sign. So if you do VB critical plus VB OK cancel, that means, so these two flags together are combined. When you combine them like this, it's called like a bitwise operator, which I'm not going to go into all the details, but basically when you add those two numbers together, it can tell by the resulting number which of the two things you've added together. The underlying constants are carefully selected integers that allow you to do that, and I don't think you'd ever combine more than two, and you don't have to, but by the way, looking at this list, typically we do VB OK only, which is a default, but there's a VB OK cancel, there's a VB retry cancel, that puts two buttons, one says retry and one says cancel. There's also a yes no cancel, so that one has three buttons. And so you can, you know, look through here and see what the different options are. But that's what we want in this case. And then we want a title, and we'll put warning. And then that should be everything we need. So we'll do close paren. So that's going to pop up our window. Now let's just try it. Let's just see what that looks like when we run it. We're not going to finish it yet. We're not going to determine which button is selected yet, but let's just see what that looks like to make sure. So here we go, warning, this cannot be undone, continue, and cancel makes it go away, but it actually did it, and OK makes it go away, and so that seems to be working correctly. So now what we want to do is check which button was clicked, and then if it's a cancel button, we'll do nothing. If it's the OK button, we'll go ahead and wipe everything out. So let's go back to the code. And the way you determine which button is selected is the button that's selected is the return value, and that's stored in result. And again, it's a code corresponding to some predefined, you know, code or numbers or something. But we don't need to worry about that, because there's some additional Visual Basic constants: VB OK, VB cancel, VB yes, VB no. Those are the constants that would be returned. So if we say if result equals VB OK, then what we want to do then is clear it. Now you could theoretically say else if result equals VB cancel, then but the problem is you don't really, if the result is canceled, there is nothing to do. So this would be like an empty statement. And so a simpler thing to do would be to just say delete that and just do end if. In other words, we only want to do something if the user clicks on the OK button. If they click on the cancel button, we're just not going to do anything. We're going to end the sub. But if you want to, for some reason, if you want to explicitly test for the VB cancel, for example, we could say if result is not equal to VB cancel. I mean, that'd be another way to express the logic. Or we can just say if the result is VB OK. There you go. So now this should be, you know, everything we need. So let's save our changes and go back to Excel, generate tables, delete tables. If I hit cancel, nothing happens. If I hit OK, then it wipes it out. So if you want to just quickly step through that in the debugger, if I hit delete tables and I'll select F8, pops it up, and I'm going to select OK, and the result is 1. So apparently VBOK is an alias for 1. Okay, and that's what VBOK means, is 1. And away we go. So let's see what the code is for the cancel button. We'll do F8 and we'll click cancel, and the cancel button is 2. So well, that's pretty simple and logical, and in that case it skips that line and away we go. So in summary, if you want to check which button is clicked on, if you want to present multiple buttons with Visual Basic MsgBox object, you call MsgBox as a function, and you make sure the second argument has the OK cancel. You don't necessarily have to do the VB critical thing. For example, if I just take that away, now I just get a standard message box without the symbol and without the warning tone. Anyway, so you just have to make sure you at least have this there, and then you store the return value for that in a variant, and then just check on the value of that variant, and it's going to be 1 or 2, VB OK or VB cancel, and act accordingly. And so that's how you use the message box with multiple buttons. Oh, by the way, I'm going to change this for a second to say VB yes, no, and I'm going to change this to VB yes. So if you wanted to give it a little bit different look, you can say this cannot be undone, continue, yes or no. So instead of an OK cancel, you can do a yes or no, and that works out just pretty much the same way. Anyway, that concludes our exercise, and now you can do some really fun things with MsgBox.